My name is Sissy Jones. I'm with the Bastrop County Sheriff's Office. I'm the Public Information Officer for this event. I wanted to give you some information on how you can find out information for this event. So BastropCountyTexas.gov is our current website here in the county. On the top portion of that particular website is going to have a yellow ribbon that says Hidden Pines Fire Update. You click on that and we're going to have lots of information on that particular website. I'll go over a little bit of the information that we're going to have, okay? So we're going to have information on shelters. If there's another shelter open or anything of that nature, we're going to have that information. We're going to have information about your animals, both small and large, where you can take them. Donations for those animals also. We're also going to have information about volunteers, where they can register at. Road closures, whether opening or closing. Evacuations are in the same nature there. We're also going to have links to certain agencies such as Blue Bonnet Electric, where they can show the fire maps of the meters that have been turned off or returned to power. We are also going to have the latest fire stats for you so that we can get that information out up to date and y'all can stay up to date. We are also going to post this information for everyone that does not have social media or access to the internet. We're going to post this information in paper form here at the shelter, and we're currently setting up other sites that we need to get approval for first so that you can go to those sites and get this information if you don't have access to internet. And at this time, I'm going to introduce County Judge Paul Poppe.
Thank you, Sissy. I'm glad to be back with you tonight. I started off this morning saying that today was a day of transition, and it has been a day of transition. The weather has changed on us, the wind direction has changed, but we can be here with you tonight to also say that it's been a good day for the Hidden Pines Fire in Bastrop County. I will have some reports about operations in just a moment. I want to introduce some important people to you, some people who are going to help us put the wraps on this fire and clean up, and then allow folks back into their homes. So I'm here tonight with an optimistic message that this has been a good day, and we're very thankful for that. However, we also have some additional sad news. We know of 14 more residence-like structures that have been lost to this fire, bringing our total to 48. Near the end of this meeting, that specific information is en route to us right now from our GIS department in Bastrop. They should be here by the end of this meeting, and before the meeting is over, we will have that information. I'll have Commissioner Beckett talk to you about that when it is available. As I said, we have about 4,500 acres in the burn scar at this time. There was just a little bit more acreage added today. Most of the fire line, 95% of the fire line held today, and we didn't see any new burning in any direction. That means that the fire can now be called about 40% contained, and that is certainly moving in the right direction. At this time, I want to have Mike Fisher, my my Director of Management Operations, to come and give us a briefing on his impressions of the day, and following him, I'll ask the Sheriff to come and talk to us a little bit about some security issues. Mike?
Thank you. Thank you. Good evening. As you heard the judge say, we had some pretty forgiving weather today. When I got up and left this morning, it looked like we may have an extremely bad day, and that didn't happen. I'm glad to be able to report that. That doesn't mean that everything is done. We still got a lot of work to do, but we didn't lose any ground. We didn't gain any acreage. We got a lot of good work done, and you're going to hear some from the guys that are out there actually doing the work. But I just want to say that I'm able here to report to you that we've got some of the best professionals that there could ever be assigned to a wildfire, all the way from utility partners, out-of-state partners, fire professionals, elected officials. It's been my pleasure to serve in this capacity of the Incident Commander, having such a wonderful crew. I regret, as we all do, that we've had property loss. I know I can look out, my friends, my neighbors, your friends, your neighbors are not completely satisfied with the job that I've done.
No, we're not.
No, but let's just say it like it is. I appreciate that, but it is what it is. We've done everything that we could do in the right way. I don't think we've made any mistakes, but wildfires are just, they're pretty tough. They're hard to work. But we've done that, and we'll continue to do that. And even more, you heard somebody make a remark, I think it's Sissy, there's so many different elements. We're dealing with large animals and small animals and shelter and care of those folks that are out on the line, and medical attention for minor injuries and hydration and setting records every afternoon. You know, it's really
They
tough.
should have sent more helicopters. We're mad at the government.
We've had plenty of aircraft, and the operational folks are going to tell you about that. I won't get into that. What I do want to remind everybody of, and I've been reminding the folks that I'm working with, we've now about 80 hours since this thing started, nonstop, without ever a minute of those 80 hours of not having firefighters out there. I'm beginning to worry about fatigue. I'm beginning to worry about people being too tired. So we're getting more help. We're getting men and women in here, more equipment even tonight and through the night. I was told that we've got about 200 firefighters every day the last couple of days, and we'll have tomorrow, and fewer, of course, at night, because it's a little more dangerous. And so the ops guys will tell you about that. But what I do want to say is that the team that I've got here working with, we're here until this thing's over, and we're by your side. And if there's anything at all that you see that I can do better, I want to know it. And I'll be here long enough for you to tell me this evening.
Good afternoon. Again, my name is Terry Pickering. I'm Bastrop County Sheriff. Actually, don't have a whole lot to report today. Nothing's really changed that much. We're still continuing to man our roadblocks and our checkpoints. We're continuing to aggressively patrol inside the area. I don't know if any of y'all saw KVU News last night. I think Tony Polhetsky tried about 5 or 6 different places to get in, and he was reporting that he couldn't get into the area anywhere. So I guess that's a positive thing. The other thing, I was talking with Commissioner Beckett today, and she was driving around the area yesterday and was informed me she was stopped about 4 or 5 times by officers checking her out to make sure that she was who she was and she was supposed to be in the area. So I think that's a good indication that the guys are out there, they're diligently working and trying to ensure that your property is safe and secure while you're away from your homes. We need to maintain our roadblocks and our checkpoints until such time as everybody feels secure that it's safe for everyone to enter.
Begin my remarks by thanking the Fire Command. They have been extraordinarily generous in allowing us to get into the area while they're still in operations. We were able to get into what we call Zone 3, and it's on the map here for you to look at it later, but that's a portion of Cottletown Road. It's the purple section. We were able to be in there until about 10:30 this morning, and then we were asked to leave the area because of the changing weather conditions. It is the same story that we have seen before. As I've said earlier, you as residents, you're going through this. As crews, we're working these areas for the 3rd time, like we talked about yesterday in some of these areas. Probably the biggest issue that we're going to see is going to be danger trees and the removal of trees, particularly in the Cottletown Road area. We do have lines on the ground. We do have poles on the ground. We feel like that we're going to be able to get that portion of it restored very quickly. But in just assessing 5% of Zone 3 this morning, and it was the toughest part, but in assessing 5% with our arborists, we identified 121 trees that have to come down. And as you will recall, we have to take every single piece of that tree out. We can't even leave a chip. So if when a tree comes down and it's chipped up, all of it has to be hauled out of the site. So the good news is that we are going to be able, from a utility perspective, to work in Zone 3 tomorrow, which means we will do the rest of the assessment We will begin restoring power lines, and we will begin tree removal. We're not going to be in Zone 4 because that's still where the active power is. We're going to energize Zone 2 by 8 o'clock in the morning. We recognize that folks will not be able to go into the area, but we're gonna move through it very quickly in the morning, just to make certain that everything is secure. And by 8 o'clock, we plan to have the electricity back on in Zone 2. So to recap, power comes back on in Zone 2. I think that's an additional almost 100 homes. We're getting this pretty close to the halfway mark. A damage assessment, tree removal, and line construction begins in Zone 3. There will more than likely not be any other activities other than possibly assessment in Zone 4. Cannot at this time give you specific restoration timeframes, but we're on it. We're in the area. There's a certain protocol that we have to follow to be allowed to work in the area while the fire is still considered to be active, and we'll start that tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rosen. Look, I want to add a word of appreciation to the way our utility suppliers have been a partner in all of this. They do some very dangerous work. And until their work is restored, we really can't call it a community again. We can't allow people to go back in. It wouldn't be safe. And so they're going into some spots that are still hot, and they're dealing with dangerous situations. We are to be greatly thankful for what they've done. They've proven themselves to be real partners for Bastrop County in all of these disasters. I want to tell you a little bit about tonight, about the operations, how it is in the field. And so I want to introduce a couple of special people to you now. Rich Gray works for the A&M Forest Service, and he is a professional at fighting fires and knowing how to operate, how to manage a fire on the ground. And then he has brought in today a team called the Blue Team. They've come in from all over the south part of the United States. I think 13 states are involved. The leader himself is from somewhere in northwest Arkansas. So I want Rich to say a little bit about his view of operations today, how it went, what was different about today than yesterday. And then I want Rich to introduce our guest, Mark, and let him tell you a little bit about what it's like to be a firefighter, what they do when they come into a situation like this, and what they will be doing tomorrow and Sunday and even into Monday as we begin. I think it's safe to say now that with the conditions that have passed and with the forecast of the weather as it is, barring some totally unforeseen circumstance, that we're on the downhill side of this fire. We're beginning to batten it up and mop it up and put it back together and re-energize the utilities and then begin to let people get back in. So that's all good news, but I want you to know that a lot of work goes into that, and I'd like to have Rich come at this time and talk about that. Rich Gray.
Thank you, Judge. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Today was a very successful day on the fire ground. We brought in some additional resources, aviation-wise, as well as ground crews, with the anticipation of very problematic fire behavior. We had some open line that did not have containment lines around it as of this morning. That was basically in an area from just north of Cottletown back towards 1C, back above Keller Road, and then back towards 71. With the weather forecast this morning, we were looking at a wind shift, a northeast wind, which would have taken that unchecked line, towards 71. So we increased our efforts there, continued with a heavy amount of aviation from the National Guard with our Blackhawks and Chinook helicopters, and then we continued operations with our single engine air tankers to continue to hold that fire until our ground resources could contain or construct line. In addition to that, because of that threat, we did bring in VLAT, a very large air tanker that connected some portions of the line that were unsecured with retardant, and that allowed the crews to continue working along those lines with dozers and ground crews to try and connect that unchecked line. The good news is on that 40% of the line that is contained and controlled is where the fire was progressing yesterday with that southerly wind. Today, we're very confident by sundown into early evening, we'll complete most of the line on that section that I just indicated to you. That fire line, of course, is also checked with the retardant, and fire behavior is greatly moderated in that area. So good news is fire behavior is moderated. We've increased the line production in that area where we had critical threats today. Also further on with the good news, we're seeing moderation in the weather for tomorrow. Wind speeds are forecast to be lower, so I'm very confident that portion of the line will hold. So we made really good progress on that. Even though we've made very good progress on that flaming front, there are still a lot of areas on the fire ground that did not burn, that are inside the fire perimeter, that can pose a threat. There's also areas that hold a lot of heat at the edge of the fire line, snags, large logs and trees from the drought kill that we've had or the previous fire that we had. So it's going to take several days into the week to make sure everything is cold and safe. So with that, in addition to the 200 firefighters that we have here, we've requested a Type 1 incident management team, the blue team. Those teams manage very large, complex fires that have a lot of complexity to it, whether it's logistics for all the folks, the critical safety that we have for all the individuals that are out there, as well as the large number of additional resources that we're bringing in for the long haul. So we've asked that team to come in. I'm going to introduce their incident commander here in a minute. One of the things that we also wanted to look at when we first had the ignition all the way through today, and we'll see that carry on into this transition with the blue team, are three very rudimentary principles and priorities on the fire ground. The very first priority is life safety. So to this point, we've had no significant injuries or fatalities to the general public, which was not the case when we had the last large fire. We also looked, secondly, at property conservation, and I know we've lost some homes, but we also had several homes and property that was saved out there. Now, that doesn't diminish anyone's loss or anyone's gain. That's the nature of the type of fire behavior that we have. And third is property conservation, so we're trying to be very conscientious while we're working around your homes, not to damage anything further or that the fire would damage, and also to our natural resource management, our natural resources. So those are our three principles. I think we'll see that priorities continue on, protecting homes and lives with the blue team. I'd like to introduce Mark Morales, who is the incident commander for the blue team, and we'll be transitioning to Mark with his team to manage this fire. Thanks. Mark.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Mark Morales, and I'm the incident commander for the Southern Area Blue Team. And one of the things that the judge asked me to speak about is a little bit about what our team is made up of and what we do. And as the judge said, we are from 13 southern states, including Texas, of course, and we have membership on our team from all federal agencies that have a land management basis, such as National Park Service, Bureau of Indian Affairs, U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, the U.S. Forest Service, which is the agency that I work with. And on top of that, we have most of the state agencies represented as well, such as the Texas A&M Forest Service. We actually have members on our team from Texas A&M Forest Service as well as I think just about every state land management agency or forestry agencies across the southern region of the United States are on our team as well. And so it's an interagency team, obviously, and we are ordered through a dispatch system that's a national dispatch. And so the reason that we are here is based on the complexity, as Rich said. And there's a complexity analysis that land management agencies and managers use. And in this case, the judge, working with Texas A&M Forest Service, went through that complexity analysis, and based on what they were seeing, the weather, the possibility, then they decided that the complexity was high enough to order a Type 1 team, and that's why we're here. And it's nothing to do with firefighting efforts at all. It is just based on the complexity. And I can tell you that the report that Rich just gave boy, there's some great work that's been done out here by a lot of folks. And we just arrived today, so that work's not from us. You know, we're going to take command of the fire tomorrow, but all the state and local agencies and fire departments that have been working on this are the reason that it's 40% contained right now. And the work that Rich Gray and his team, along with Mike, have done has been outstanding. For our team, we do travel across the country. We just came back from a 24-day event out in Idaho. As you know, the West was very active this year, and so we just got back from that about a month ago, I think. And you know, we have worked with the Texas A&M Forest Service here for years. I've probably known Rich Gray for 15 years, been working with him, and we're very fortunate that Rich is going to stay on and work with our team. So the folks that have been doing the great work are going to stay in place. The local resources that have been used on the fire are going to stay in place. Other than our team members, we have not ordered in any additional resources because in talking with Rich and the other folks, they felt like the resources that they had in place were going to be adequate, and especially if we had a good day today, like Rich said, and it was a very good day today. For me personally, as the judge said, I'm from Northwest Arkansas. I've been in the state of Texas on fires numerous times. In 2011, I spent 7 weeks here fighting fires in different parts of the country, and pretty much from the east to the west. So pretty familiar with the fuels and how fires react around here. And big thing is, I just want to say thank you to all the firefighters who have been doing the great work, because there has been some incredible work done out there, and it is always tough.
Emphasize again what both the sheriff and Mr. Rose have said, and that is, even though we're going to try to energize a new section of line tomorrow, that does not mean that we're ready for the residents to go back into those areas. The lines need to be energized and checked, and then we need to let the firefighters have free access to the entire area so that they can do their work, and as soon as possible, we will get folks back into those re-energized areas. It's just a staging, step 1, step 2 kind of process. We'll get you there as soon as we can. We're double checking our list on the structures that were lost in just a moment. Commissioner Beckett will come with that. But before she does, I want to have Robert Tamel, City Manager, come and talk to us about some things that those of you who are benefiting from the use of this shelter need to know. Because we've been declared a disaster by the county and the state, because we qualify for federal matching funds from FEMA, we have to qualify certain things. Some records have to be kept. And I want Robert to talk to you about that just briefly, and then we'll have the list that we're waiting to hear about. Robert?
Good afternoon. My name is Robert Tamel, and I'm the City Manager for the City of Smithville. And on behalf of the City of Smithville, we'd like to extend our thoughts and prayers to all the families impacted by this disaster. The outpouring of community support has been phenomenal. We've received thousands of cases of water, thousands of pounds of food and supplies for our emergency response personnel and the evacuees. To date, as Judge alluded, we've had 209 individuals register at the shelter. We are typically running anywhere from 10 to 12 who spend the night. But as we are still in the response phase, we've been planning for days for the recovery and restoration. And part of that involves donations. We get thousands of calls. What can we do? How can we help? Where do we donate? And the information I'm going to give you tonight will tell you how to do that. We partnered with the Bastrop Long-Term Recovery Team, the Bastrop County Long-Term Recovery Team. They have a website where those individuals who want to donate their time or their money can go to register. If you've already registered at City Hall the first 4 or 5 days of this event, registration was at City Hall. You do not have to go re-register. We will take your names and get them into the database. If you haven't registered, again, go to Bastrop County longtermrecovery.org and you can register there. Regarding monetary donations, same thing. And right now, God love everyone who has sent water, food, and supplies, but we don't want those water, food, supplies to go to waste or to spoil. So if you would like to donate, the best thing that you can do for the families who have been displaced is to give us a monetary donation so that can be given to the individuals who have been impacted. Okay, so tomorrow, the rec center, we will stay open as a shelter for the duration of this event. But if you do need displaced family services, there are some organizations who will be here to help you. The American Red Cross, the Austin Disaster Relief Network, and of course the Texas Conservation Corps. We will be open tomorrow from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. On Sunday, the hours will be 1 p.m. to 6 p.m. and will remain open on Monday from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. The phone number for volunteer, if for some reason the website crashes, that number is 512-521-3001. Thank you.
We intend to see you here again tomorrow night at 5 o'clock, just as we did today, and we'll continue to do this through the remainder of public information regarding this disaster. We feel like the best approach is just to be honest with you and tell you what we know, when we know it, in an appropriate time, and that's what we intend to do. So we look forward to seeing many of you back here tomorrow night. But before we go tonight, I want Miss Sarah Beckett to come and say a few words about the additional residential structures that were lost today and how we're going to get that information out to you. Once she has done that, we do have time for questions and answers, and if you'll just remain seated for a few minutes and we'll take the questions and then we'll be dismissed. Ms. Beckett.
Well, howdy, folks. Thank you, Judge. We just got these in. The Texas Forest Service, we kind of did this differently today. We had been trying to acquire this information via law enforcement, driving around, and that proved to be very, very difficult because mailboxes and the signs were gone from the addresses. So we had the Texas Forest Service go GPS these points and tied that into our 911 addressing and mapping database. And we feel confident it has not been vetted through Incident Commander. But this is the best information that we have at this time, and we want to share it. We'll continue to perfect it, but we're confident that you want to see this information, and we want to provide it to you. We brought several copies. There's 47 on this list, and they're intermingled with what has already been announced. So I'm not going to read them off. We're just going to post them on the wall, and we also have a map that shows these locations with aerial photography. I'd just like to say on a personal note, I know a lot of you folks, and so I'm sorry this is happening to our community again, but I do believe everything's being done that's humanly possible to keep people safe. So that said, I'll try to go get some tape and get to work putting these on the wall. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. That's the hardest part of this, and we take it very seriously. Before we dismiss the meeting, though, there may be some questions that we didn't cover tonight or some things that we're not clear about. If you would like to ask a question at this time, we'll try to repeat the question so everyone can hear it and then get an answer for you. I know everyone is anxious to see the list, and so we'll get those lists posted over here on the wall. And in just a moment, when the meeting is dismissed, you can take a look at the list. Are there any questions about what we talked about tonight or what to look forward to in the future? Someone was telling me today, in fact, it was the NBC News, they interviewed me this afternoon, they said, well, you know, surely this has gotten you all down, hasn't it? I mean, here we are, second fire in 4 years, third natural disaster in 4 years, and I said, no, you don't know the people of Bastrop County. You don't know how resilient our folks are, and how we bounce back and pull together and work together and love each other. I said, no, we're not discouraged at all, and we don't live in fear. We love our beautiful county. We love living here. And we take the bad with the good, and we make it all better. So I want to thank you for being here tonight. Thank you to these great public servants. You've heard from some of the best in the country tonight. I want you to know that you deserve the best, and you have gotten the best fire protection and firefighters that America can provide right here in Bastrop County, and these gentlemen that have spoken to you tonight. We're just so thankful for them. This battle's not over. We'll be back here tomorrow night to bring you some more news Hopefully we can begin to open up some more areas. We'll do that as aggressively as we can in a safe manner. Thank you so much. We'll get those addresses posted on the wall, and you're dismissed. Thank you.
Well, in this instance, I'm ready to let it do 6 or 5 days. Okay. Appreciate it. Thank you.